Today on the Daily Scoop podcast from the Scoop News Group. DHS launches a new drone-focused office ahead of the 2026 World Cup and America's 250th anniversary. And Congress earmarks $5 million for the TMF in fiscal 2026. It's Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. Welcome to the Daily Scoop podcast, where you'll hear the latest news and trends facing government leaders. I'm the host of the Daily Scoop podcast, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for joining me. And now let's dive into the day's top headlines. The Department of Homeland Security is launching a new office focused on unmanned aircraft systems that will oversee strategic investments in drone and counter-drone technologies. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said in a Monday press release, quote, "We are entering a new era to defend our air superiority, to protect our borders and the interior of the United States. This will help us continue to secure the border and cripple the cartels, protect our infrastructure, and keep Americans safe as they attend festivities and events during our historic year of America's 250th birthday and FIFA 2026, unquote. The creation of the dedicated office builds on preceding efforts to beef up drone and counter-drone technologies. In December, FEMA awarded $250 million in grants for counter-drone capabilities to the 11 states hosting FIFA World Cup 2026 matches, as well as Washington, D.C. DHS also expanded authorization the same month to allow state and local law enforcement to combat drone threats. The department is also fielding proposals from industry partners for a $1.5 billion contract that will facilitate the procurement of these technologies for customs and border protection and immigration and customs enforcement. The new program executive office has already begun its work, according to DHS. The drone-focused entity is finalizing a $115 million investment in counter technologies that will support the two upcoming celebrations. The funding and focus come amid heightened risks regarding threat actors' use of unmanned aircraft systems. DHS said Monday that the agency has conducted 1,500 plus missions to address illicit drone activities since 2018. Now moving on to other news, calls on Congress to put money into the Technology Modernization Fund may have been answered, albeit at a much lower level than what the General Services Administration-run funding vehicle for agency IT projects has been accustomed to. Senate and House Appropriations Committee lawmakers released a package of conference bills Sunday to fund several federal agencies through fiscal year 2026, which ends September 30th, including the GSA. Tucked into the 488-page agreement was a note that $5 million would be provided to the TMF to remain available until expended. The appropriations bills must still be passed by both chambers of Congress and signed by the president before the funding can take effect. The potential funding comes as the TMF expired last month for the first time since it was created in 2017, freezing nearly $200 million in funding for agency technology projects. The program has enjoyed bipartisan support since its launch nearly a decade ago. Former Representative Jerry Connolly, Democrat of Virginia, was a staunch advocate for the program until his death from cancer last year, while Representative Nancy Mace, Republican of South Carolina, has led a sustained push for the TMF's reauthorization. The fund has similarly strong backing from civic technologists and industry groups, and a spokesperson for the House Oversight Committee told FedScoop last month that its reauthorization was a high priority that the Office of Management and Budget also supported. Nevertheless, efforts to get the TMF reauthorized through the fiscal 2026 National Defense Authorization Act didn't pan out, leaving the program out in the cold. As such, if the appropriations bill is passed in the near term with the TMF still lacking a new authorization, the funding would be considered unauthorized, a common occurrence in modern government funding, with nearly a third of discretionary federal appropriations in fiscal 2025 going to programs whose authorizations had expired, according to the Congressional Budget Office. Press offices for congressional appropriators didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. The $5 million congressional appropriators carved out for the TMF is a far cry from what the fund had enjoyed since 2021. When President Joe Biden's American Rescue Plan injected the program with $1 billion. The fund announced last month, as its authorization was expiring, that it would dole out $28 million to the Department of Energy's National Nuclear Security Administration for AI and modernization projects. For more news at the intersection of the federal government and technology, make sure to visit fedscoop.com. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Scoop podcast, available on all podcast platforms. If you've already rated the podcast on your platform of choice, thanks so much. High ratings and good reviews of the show help more people to find it. The Daily Scoop podcast is a production of the Scoop News Group in Washington, D.C. Adam Butler and Carlin Fisher help put the show together, and the entire Scoop News Group team contributes. We'll be back tomorrow with more top headlines. Until then, I'm your host, as always, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for listening.